What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Super happy to have you here and grateful for your time. Today, we have an amazing guest for you. He is actually a coach that helps other coaches scale their businesses to $20,000 and $30,000 months. And he's been doing this for people in the fitness space as well as in other spaces, really any online coaching space that you may be in. He can help you scale your business. So please welcome to the show, Reuben Driedger.
Hey, thank you for having me on. I'm so freaking excited about this.
Welcome, Reuben. We're excited to have you, man, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Definitely appreciate your time and can't wait to dig into your story and sort of the process that you go through, to help people scale to these types of numbers, which is pretty incredible. So I'm definitely interested to get into that. But before we get started, if you don't mind, just take us back to the beginning, man. Tell us a little bit about how you got into the coaching space. And I know we talked a little bit before we got on, you were kind of dabbling in the fitness space before that. So kind of take us to the origins.
Totally. So, from young on growing up, I always wanted to I just felt like I was called to do something bigger. I had no idea what it was. But I always had this feeling like I'm going to do something big. I'm going to help a lot of people. There's something out there for me. Fast forward to when I got married, my wife was actually an online health coach. And at that time, I was a bricklayer. I laid brick driveways, sidewalks, patios, etc. And so she was posting on Instagram, making more money than me. And I was working like 60, 70 hours a week. And I was just like, this is not cool. Like I'm slaving away, making barely $3,000 a month. Like something isn't right. So jealousy was basically the motivator at that point. And I was like, hey, I want to build an online business. So I tried a couple different things. I tried affiliate marketing, network marketing. I tried to do my own bricklaying business. Made a couple hundred, a couple thousand on some of them. But overall, it didn't really work out that well. Then I've always been into fitness, always been into sports. So I decided, hey, why don't I do something similar to my wife? Why don't I try like fitness training online? And that's the first business that really took off for me. We went from 0 to 6 figures in 6 months. It started to really grow fast. And I really found a passion for serving people, providing value, seeing that transformation. Now, as it were, it organically happened. I had some friends be like, hey, how the heck did you go from like bricklaying to now like you stay at home, you travel where you want to travel and all that kind of stuff, right? How did you do it? And so we started to help some friends for free and they started to make some money. And I was like, oh, sweet. Maybe I'll take on a couple of people and charge them a small amount because I actually really like this whole business thing. I love concepts. I love the strategies. I love the numbers and the analytics. Absolutely love it. So eventually it started to really compound and I was like, hey, I need to let go of my fitness coaching business. And so we transitioned out of that. So that was about 4 years ago. And over the last 4 years, we've just been building and serving online entrepreneurs. A ton of them, most of them are coaches. And that's kind of the origin story.
Wow. So that's awesome, man.
So it's interesting. So number one, I have a flooring business. I do concrete flooring, epoxies and coatings. So I completely understand that grind. Corey's a certified electrician. So he did the construction grind for 9 years. We're feeling you there for sure. But then it's interesting. So you get into the fitness space and the reasoning why makes sense. And then you have some success in your fitness business online. And then you start coaching other people specifically in the fitness space at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
See, and the reason I wanted to point that out is because before we went live, you were telling me that, I'm like, as rising entrepreneurs and coaches especially, right? Sometimes we have a struggle. We don't want to narrow down and we don't want to pick our niche or whatever.
Yeah.
But Reuben's a prime example of if you pick one thing and are really good at one thing, then you can expand those principles out into the other areas that you want to influence as you go on. But sometimes, because we're so expansive as entrepreneurs, we want to touch everybody at first and everything else. I just want to point out that sometimes that path, that trajectory to make it faster, if you can narrow down on something tight, you can expand on it later.
Exactly. And honestly, like the whole idea of niching down, a lot of people they'll ask why to do it. It's honestly for fast results. That's what it is. It's targeted, fast, and specific. And so when we started business coaching, it was just for fit pros. Then it kind of expanded. We started helping a lot of people in the nutrition space. Then all of a sudden there was a lot of people that were in the mindset space. Then the relationship coaching. Then the we have another business coaches that are now getting coached by us. So it started to slowly broaden as we got really good at one thing, and it started to build at that point. But it took us 4 years to get to a place now where we help all coaches, right? It didn't start that way. The first probably year and a half, 2 years was just health and fitness. And then we slowly transitioned over when we had the reputation, we had the frameworks, we had the methods. So it took a little bit of patience. I definitely wanted to move faster, but I'm happy we did it the way we did it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really smart, man. I love what you said. Niching down equals fast results. And yeah, I would 100% agree with that. And actually, kind of on the back of that question or that distinction rather, I have a question for those that may be feeling like they want to step into this coaching role. Like, how do you know when you can actually become the coach?
Yeah, that's a great question. So most of the people that we talk to, number one, they're very heart-centered. A lot of the coaches that we always try to work with people who are heart-centered, and then we always say we're the business savvy side of them, heart-centered, business savvy. So we often come across people who are very heart-centered. Lots of them have already had some kind of experience in coaching, whether it was in-person coaching or they've just been helping people their whole lives. People always come to them for advice, whatever it is. Now, big thing that often people come to us asking, like, do I have to be certified in something to be a coach? And my opinion, personal opinion, people have different opinions, is that you don't need it, but you probably should be getting it at some point. So if you want to be a life coach, yes, you can start helping some people with different things in their lives, but maybe pursue some certification along the way. Just to give yourself a bit more reputation, a little bit more tools in the toolbox, and also to just allow people to feel more comfortable with you being coached. So if you're heart-centered and you're passionate about serving people and transforming them, there's no better place than the coaching world. The coaching world, there's a lot of great, there's a lot of bad in it, but honestly, it does so much for this world. And we need more great coaches.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I know in my experience, you can't say all of anything, but most of the growth that I've experienced, through entrepreneurship has definitely been under the guidance and leadership of a coach of some sort. Because when you're trying to do something new, it just doesn't make any sense to go out and, I'm just going to figure it out. You want to find somebody who's gone down that path, right? And has, figured out where the holes are and the pitfalls and everything else. And then, follow their lead so that you don't end up in those same situations.
I was going to say what I like about it is it's a plan to get started right away with the plan to establish it down in the future. Because like you're saying, you don't need to be certified just to help somebody with something. If you got people coming to you all the time being like, hey, how do you do this thing? And you're like, let me coach you through this thing, and they get success. That's all that matters is the results, right? Tony Robbins didn't finish his certification. He was helping everyone, but not all of us are Tony Robbins, right?
Totally.
But in your thing, you can have that impact. And whatever that is, whatever people come to you and they're always asking you, my wife is someone that we can't go to a store without people stopping her and telling their entire life. I was like, I'm telling you, people would pay you just to be able to talk to you for a while, right? And so if you have that quality, then you can turn that into something. But then what I really liked was at the end how you said, when you have the certification, it can help people be more comfortable being coached, right? Sometimes it's just for that. It's not necessarily that it makes you better. It can, all the tools, all the practice will, but then as we all know, especially for heart-centered people, because I'm passionate about helping people that improve the collective experience, right? And people help people level up. And and I like to help them with marketing, but that's the thing is sometimes you're this coach and you're like the best kept secret in the industry and you got this thing, you can change people's lives, but one of two things happen. Either not enough people know about it, or you're not making the kind of money that you need to make, even though people are coming to you. So you're running out of the resources and ability to serve them, which is why when you say getting to that 20 or 30,000 a month, for some people that seems like just an exorbitant amount of money. Like, oh my God, if I could just make 5, I'd be great. But a lot of coaches struggle in that paycheck to paycheck, in that next person realm, and they can't get that heart-centeredness out.
Yeah,
and so I know
100%.
For some of us, there's that, I don't want to have puffed up self-promotion. I don't want to use sleazy sales or braggadociousness because I'm heart-centered. I just care about what I do. Do you ever see challenges with that, of getting those people to understand that to have the impact, you also got to have some income to fuel that?
Oh, 100%. And that's kind of like the whole motto of our entire company, which is heart-centered and business savvy, is we dive straight into this every single day. So a couple things that we really push hard in our practice is that we truly believe in the universal law of value, that the more value someone provides to the world, the more monetarily you're going to get back. And so we focus everything in our business, marketing, the funnels, the organic, everything on value centric, so that we understand if I'm getting X amount of value out, I'm going to get stuff back in. So value is one of the key things that we quantify with our coaches. The second thing is truly having a really good money mindset, because a lot of people, especially there's some different backgrounds that can be more prone to this or not. I know I had a lot of bad money mindset around money's bad, it's not good, and different things like that, like I shouldn't own a lot of it or whatever it is. And so I think that the main two things is if you can be crazy value centric and then also really good on a money mindset, which will aid your sales perspective as just serving people and actually helping them at their highest good. Those two things are the main two levers we see that allow people that are just heart-centered go from heart-centered to super business savvy and having a really great business.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's interesting. Quantifying value is intriguing to me. Like, because, you know, value is one of those things. It's different to me than it is to you, than it is to somebody down the street, right? It's kind of like art. It's whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. Exactly. Like how are some ways that you could actually quantify, you know, value for a coach?
Good question. So we actually came up with a term. We call them value pieces, because every person that we work with, we track a bunch of different things in their business and their metrics every week. So we know how to get clients every single week. One of the metrics actually is value pieces. So a lot of people, when we talk about value pieces, they think of like freebies or opt-ins or things like that. So a value piece is a bit different than that. A value piece, and this pertains specific to niches. This is why it's really important to pick a niche, because a value piece is a piece of information. It could look like an ebook, a video, just a conversation with somebody, a workshop, a challenge. It could be so many different things, but you want it to be a piece of information that your ideal client would raise their hand to and everyone else would not. It's really, really specific. And so with our clientele, we can literally see, I know for a fact that my clients right now that are doing 20, 25K, 30K months, they are getting out 50 high targeted value pieces every single week to high quality people. And I know for a fact that if they hit that again and again and again, and they're good at sales, they're going to get to 25, 30K months. And so value pieces, that's how we quantify it. And so, we kind of have two subunits of value pieces. We have macro value pieces and micro. A micro value piece is when it's one-to-one, you're sending it one-to-one with someone. A macro one is when it's one-to-many. So a workshop, a challenge, masterclass, etc. So that's how we quantify it. And we've just seen that works extremely well with the people that we're working with.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I got a couple of things. So did you say 50? They have 50 different value things running? So they're going.
Yeah, it's not necessarily different types of value pieces. It's just how many can you get out to new people on a weekly basis.
Touch points and ways. Okay. And so, you know, in a way to think about this. So when you look at opt-ins, lead magnets, value pieces, like, you know, one thing that I was told a long time ago was you want to deliver one step in your promise. You want to give them like one sort of valuable thing. So an example was Eben Pagan in Double Your Dating was he gave a report that was how to know when she's ready to kiss you. Because as a guy going to date, that's you're like, I'm freaked out. If I just knew this, I'll feel more comfortable. So he just gave you that one little piece, and it didn't take but because of what it was, it didn't take but a couple of pages to explain it. But another example was where somebody wanted to show how the power of your mind can impact your body. And so they have you turn your head to the right, then look center, then close your eyes and imagine turning your head all the way around, and then see how much further you turn your head. And so in a way that was a value piece because you instantly saw the connection of what he was trying, of the value that he could give you. So when you're thinking about how can I come up with that value, think about what they're trying to achieve and how can you give them a sample or one step in that process. Because so when you said a boot camp, a PDF, whatever it is, it's trying to give them a value, which is part of what they need in their journey. Do you have anything to add to that or subtract?
Yeah. No, I mean, basically, I always tell my clients, like, the value piece needs to be the intersection of where they're coming from and what they want as a next step, right? And so whether it's weight loss, someone's coming from trying out these bunch of different programs and they want to find a way to lose weight but not have to do what they were doing. So the intersection is where that value piece comes in. How to lose weight without doing X, Y, and Z. And yeah, giving some tangibles, giving some quick win stuff. Oftentimes in my free content, I give out content that gets people paid for free. So I want to get them paid clients completely for free on me, just on 1 or 2 or 3 clients. Once they do that, they're hooked. They will never go anywhere else because they've tasted it. It's basically like I talk about a value piece. We always talk about in marketing, you want to grow know, like, and trust. That should do it on a 10x scale from a normal piece of content.
Okay. Yeah, that's really cool, man. And I want to dig into this a little bit more because this is definitely valuable for the audience, for everybody listening. So you broke it down. You kind of broke it down into micro and macro, right? So I have a question in terms of like email marketing. Like, would each email be considered like a value piece being delivered? Do you look at it that way, or is that like that's one macro delivery of some value content that we have?
Yeah, good question. So we often differentiate between like content and value pieces because content is not always, because a value piece is when you've literally connected it to one person or to many people, but it's very specifically to them. I feel like content and email marketing is a little bit more of what I would call like the front end of the funnel. A value piece is the next step.
Okay.
And so that's how I would go about talking about it because, content and email marketing is more of like what you're sending to people. We want them to take an action. I always talk about small steps with people before big steps with people. So email marketing and content on social is more of the first step. If they read it, they engage with it, they've taken a small step. When they are interacting on a value piece, whether they're responding to a caption saying, hey, I want this, or an email saying I want it, or you're messaging someone, hey, do you want this? And they say yes, that's the next step. And so we often say, okay, take that small step first, which is your content, getting people into your audience. The second step is then interacting them with the value piece. So I would just see one step further is the value piece.
Okay, so that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so real quick, so now we're looking at the value. Like the value piece is actually after we've gotten them kind of as a lead, right? They're interacting with our business, they're in our community maybe, right, in our audience, and now we're starting to, communicate with them on a more one-to-one level. So I just want to ask one question, which is something a lot of entrepreneurs think about, even though maybe they shouldn't quite yet, but scalability. Like, is these actions that are they scalable, or is this kind of like to get to a certain point and then you kind of change your strategy?
Good question. So what we teach people, I'm always really massive on that it's scalable. Because when people get to 30, 40K months, I mean, we've helped some people get to 100K per month, but on average, when we get people to 30, 40K months, we actually then hand them off to the people who are at the next level to help them because we want to stay within our niche. We actually have partners that we've partnered up with that we hand people off to. So this is completely scalable. And so the biggest thing is understanding that this process could work no matter what traction channel we use, and also no matter what we're actually using as far as the funnel goes. And let me explain this and break this down, because a lot of people are like, there's only one way to do online marketing. And actually, there's a million different ways. And they all lead to the top of the mountain. Some maybe work better in certain niches. So I'll give 3 examples here. So one of the people I work with right now literally only and ever uses Instagram as their traction channel, their place to fill her value pieces, offer calls, book calls, etc. One of the clients we're working with, John, he's doing 25, 30K per month just doing that. Great. Now, so Instagram is his traction channel. If we wanted to add in more on the front of his channel, we could do a couple things. We could do paid marketing. We could do podcasting. We could do PR. We could do mail. We could do television, magazine. There's so many different options, but we could follow the same path. So for him, he doesn't need email marketing. He doesn't need paid traffic right now to do that. Now, we have other people who they want to use the email marketing. They'll generate from Pinterest. We'll go to email marketing. We'll follow the exact same sequence of building the target audience, value piece, nurture, book call. the exact same sequence, but we're using different channels depending on niche, depending on different things. So I always think that so yes, to your question, always scalable, but it could look different. The process is the same, but how we use the process and which platforms we use can be different.
Awesome.
And that's really important because a lot of people get so caught up on Facebook ads are the only way, email marketing is the only way. I'll tell you right now, like we built our business doing $1 million per year, completely organic. We've never run paid traffic. We've never had to. And so a lot of people just need to get out of the mindset of there's only one way.
Right.
So it's interesting to me here. It sounds like the value piece is specifically a process, a thing to take them through a know, like, and trust you, right, on an extreme level. And so that when I'm done with this thing, so with one of my clients, Devon Brown, we've got, we're working on 10 email sequences so that doesn't sell a thing. But when you're done with this, you've had an experience, you know him, you feel like you want more from him. That's the whole idea of it. Sometimes they do sell, sometimes they don't, right? But it sounds like, so the value piece and then the traction piece is once you've got a know, like, and trust into a nurture, into a sale, right? Once you've got that, then you can put whatever traction pieces you want in front of that part.
To add more traffic.
And if you've got that, what's really interesting is if you have that value piece right and the nurture sequence that goes, that systematically feeds from it, then sometimes you find that you don't have a traffic problem because you're so much better at converting the traffic and leads that come through. So all the things that other people are doing to generate traffic, especially when you work closely with people, you don't need the quantity. And so,
100%.
So I mean, but you're saying by making sure it's scalable, it's how do we automate this process? Because I know for my flooring company, actually I scaled when I took my phone number off the internet and made you have to book a call and go through a whole system before I even come out to your house that nurtures you, gets you. This guy really respects my time and goes through a thing that they're nurtured. They trust me before I even get there. And then it makes my sale easier. And so in having, but the way that you're doing, you put a framework around, like, okay, you create this value piece, and then from that becomes almost like a core, right? That's your core, and you can put stuff in front of it, and you can put stuff behind it. But if you've got this core, then that's what builds your business. That's what creates your income to impact ratio, right? I mean, I really like that. That's really cool.
Yeah. No, I think as far as scalability goes, the only two things that need to be true is that, number one, you have this, you can call it a funnel, you can call it a value chain. If you have the value chain that's built out and it's shown to work, that's the first thing you need. The second thing you need is that every step of the value chain needs to be either be able to be automated or delegated. It doesn't even matter which one. Like delegation works just as great as automation. It can cost a little bit more, but it also has more perks to it sometimes. And so if your value chain optimized and it works, and all of those systems can be outsourced and handed off to people or software, you have a scalable business.
Yes. I love where we're going right now because, Nathan, you touched in on something I think which is really interesting, right? Traffic problem versus conversion problem. And this whole idea that we just need to generate more traffic to our websites and our funnels and everything, right? Like this is a cycle, a mouse wheel, if you will, that a lot of entrepreneurs are stuck on. They're constantly trying to find ways to create more traffic. Like, Reuben, can you give us your expertise? I mean, in this situation here.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the unsexy truth. So most people don't have a leads problem. So basically, you want to look at every single step of your process before leads, and you'll probably find that you triple your business. So the first thing that we actually always look at for our businesses is how long are you retaining customers? Most people are getting them as fast as they're losing them. So the first thing is retention. And we've got to a place where our business now can retain people for 9 months or longer on average. Great. Now I just literally cut down the cost of my customer acquisition by like 50% because I don't need more ones on the front end.
Right.
Retention's the first one. Second one is simply referrals, because most people are getting like a 0 to 5% referral rate. This last month, I made $30K alone off of referrals. Didn't do any work for it besides obviously the fulfillment. Great. So retention's first, referral second. I mean, the third thing really is your close percentage. How are you doing on your sales calls, or whatever kind of conversion, page, call, messages, whatever email it is. And I always tell people, I mean, you really should be at least trying to get to about 40 to 50% conversion. Most of the people we talk to, they're on phone calls. So they're having these hour-long sales calls. And so make sure you're having strong sales. And now so focus on those things first. Most people can then have a ton of extra clients come in, a ton of like retention, referrals, close percentage goes up. That literally in and of itself could triple your business in 3 months. If every client retained with you twice as long and every client referred you one other client and your close rate went up from 20% to 40%, that's probably more than 300%. That's probably 400 to 500% increase in your business. And you didn't do anything on the front end of your funnel.
Right.
And I learned this from my mentors, and my mentors, I mean, like they actually posted this month that they did about $500K in revenue and they only spent $10,000 on ads because the retention, referral, close rate is so freaking strong, and their product's incredible. That's the fourth thing. Like your product has to be incredible. Otherwise, people won't refer or retain. They just won't. Then as far as leads go, I mean, leads is just such a simple game. Like I said, like I use Facebook and Instagram, organic, non-paid, and we can get 5-7 new clients every single week that pay us a high ticket amount. And we don't do anything special. Nothing like all those, like, I'm going to say it again, the fancy, flashy, hype tactics, they're not going to transform your life. They really won't. They'll help you here or there a little bit. Focus on the non-sexy stuff.
I really appreciate that advice because it's true. And like you said, it's the unsexy truth, but it is the truth that everybody needs to hear, especially entrepreneurs that are getting started in their journey, or, you know, those that may have been struggling for a little while. Like, this is why, you know, it's not some new sexy tactic or strategy you need or that you're missing, right? It's not some hack or some trick or anything like that. Like, it's the fundamentals. And when, you know, when you talk about retaining customers, right? Having a good product that they actually want to keep using, you know, building in a referral system. I mean, that is like, come on, like if you don't have a built-in referral system, you're just leaving so much money on the table. And then finally your close percentage, obviously. And part of that is if your close percentage is really low, then maybe you're not filtering them properly, right? You're not talking to the right people. So
or your value piece in front of that isn't working. Right.
Yeah.
Because like, especially as coaches, right? The whole thing is a relationship. The whole thing is, do I feel comfortable with you? Do I feel like you are the person to take me to the next level? And so, but it's interesting because all you rising entrepreneurs, even if you're not a coach, that is the missing thing, that little value piece, that little get to know you, like you trust you. A lot of times you just fulfill the order, or you just, you know, you give them the lead magnet and then that's it. And you hope the lead magnet's doing all that work for you. But the lead magnet just got them really just to give them the raise of their hand and say, I care, I'm interested. And it doesn't go through that process. And if you're not looking at, are they opening the emails that take them to this thing? Are they doing the boot camp that at the end of it, they really are going to be in my world and understand my language so that I can really help them? Because here's the thing, if you have a product or service, or your business has the power to transform someone's life, right? Then the only question is, how do I get more people to take the action they need to take so they can receive the full impact of that transformation? And so you really have to be thinking about that. It's like, okay, what can I do to ease them through the actions along their way? Whatever internal doubts they have, whatever external doubts they have, if you can address these in this value piece and get them to just understand that, man, this person either knows the problem better than anyone else, which means they have the solution that I need, or this person just gets it. Whatever it is that connects you to them is going to transform everything that happens before and after. It's going to extend the amount of time that they're with you. It's going to increase the number of referrals that they want to give to you. The impact that you have, you only get one chance to make a first impression. So that way that you take them through is vital. And I think you're the first person that I've heard to put this value piece in the middle there, in between, like, and spread out from collecting a lead and a lead magnet to nurturing, and put something in the middle that says like, this is part of nurturing, could be part of the lead magnet, but if you don't do this thing, you're missing out, right? And this thing is your value piece that gets them to the point where now they trust you, they want to use you longer. And I just want to, acknowledge, I've never really seen it done in that way before.
Yeah. And honestly, like the big thing for me is because there's a lot of freebies out there. There's a lot of free information. So value pieces, to me, like you have to be better, different, and more specific than your competitors. That's really, really big. So like when I think of creating a value piece, I look at all the other business coaches out there and I kind of figure out, okay, what are they selling in their, like what's in their program that they're giving to people as part as like paid information. I will take that exact information and give it out for free. Because if they're scared to give it out for free and they're making people pay for it, by me giving it out for free and allowing these clients to make money off of my content for free, I created a better, more distinct, more specific, more relevant piece of information for them. And so you have to think like, it's kind of like, your value piece needs to be niched, but also within the niche, you have to be thinking about how can I make this better and more specific within my niche? That's when you stand out. That's when your value pieces attract hundreds of people to your business.
That's awesome, man. I love that. So real quick, to recap, we're talking about quantifying value through value pieces. Reuben recommends to his clients getting 50 pieces out per week individually, and then fixing the bad money mindset, which I don't necessarily want to dive too deep into right now, because I think most people listening probably understand that there is an issue called money mindset. And if you're not addressing that, then, you're going to have some problems.
Yeah, coach.
It's not going to work. So we'll just move kind of breeze by that. Now, Reuben, I want to jump into a new section that we have in the podcast with you, which Nathan, if you want to go ahead and take it away, man, I think it's time for PMP.
For sure. So this section is called Perils and Pearls. So on the broken road of becoming a rising entrepreneur, you have come across tons of perils that none of us have seen before, but we may encounter in the future. And so thinking back, what is the biggest peril that you've come across, and what is a pearl of wisdom that can help us either avoid that peril or climb out of that pit once we fall into it?
Yeah, that's really good. And I mean, there's a couple I can go through, but I'll kind of go through one. The main thing I always think about, and I've always been mentored on, is that every new level in business has its own devil. And so every time you want to go to another level, there's going to be a new, as you're calling it, peril and a pearl. And so I'm going to talk about I'm going to talk about the last kind of stage we went through as a business that a lot of people I think are going to really need to know. So I plateaued for an entire fiscal year, making about $40K per month. And I was stuck. I was frustrated. I almost quit business coaching, not because I didn't like doing it. It was just, I just felt like I couldn't move. And the reason that was happening is because I was trying to be like every other business coach out there. I was trying to do things in a certain way, market a certain way, have my programs a certain way. And I was not being who I knew I wanted to be in the values that I really held to myself. And this is where people can talk about alignment. I was out of line. I was not doing the things that I truly believed in. And so the peril was that if I was to keep on going down that journey, I know my business would have suffered. I would have lost so much passion, and we would have probably eventually kind of just died out. What I did instead is, that's when I hired a mentor for myself. This is when I hired a mentor who I still get mentored by. And they taught me how to find that alignment, how to find what I truly was my zone of genius, what was actually what I wanted to build. And then also allowed me to break free of feeling like I needed to control everything. The thing that stuck with me the most, the pearl as it were, is that my mentor told me, Reuben, you need to find love in other places. Right now, you are the hero in every part of your business. And you're finding love from it and appreciation for it. And that is killing your business growth. And so the pearl really was understanding that I needed to let go of control, find love, as it were, in other places, and learn how to actually, at that point, it was outsourcing and delegation, and finding alignment in my business model. And so that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned. I mean, I've learned many lessons. I could share a bunch more. I could share how we went from 0 to 6 figures, multiple. There's pearls and perils at every stage. Yep. They look different. Sometimes they're bigger, but you'll always hit those.
I like that, a devil or a peril at every level, right? Like that makes, and so I don't know. That was really good. Thank you. Thank you for that. I love that section because we always get some gems, but you're right. You go on, there's so many. And sometimes if you don't hear the pearl from someone else, you got to fall into it and figure out your own way. It took you a year, right? It took you a year to get past that particular peril. And the worst part is sometimes you don't see them for a while. So and you sharing that, if you look and you realize you're stuck at a level of success, it's still successful, but you're stuck and you feel like there's something else. There is, but you're gonna have to find that next level. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think also that is relevant to everyone at any stage. Talking about getting out of your own way, right? Relinquishing control, allowing the business to thrive on its own. This and also finding love in other areas of your life. I think these are very, very important, things to remember and keep in mind. And, I appreciate you sharing them because I know for myself, Nathan and I literally just had this conversation all morning before we got onto this interview. I, for myself, need to start relinquishing some control for this to grow, right? And I need to allow some things to change because, some of the processes and things that we've been going through haven't been working, at least not to the result that we're going for, right? So it's important to be able to be real enough with yourself and take responsibility when things aren't working for your business and say, you know what, it's time to change. Maybe I need to bring in a new team member. Maybe I need to try a different strategy. Maybe I just need to get out of the way for a little bit, And,
totally.
And that's really, really key. And then also finding love in different areas of your life, I think is super, super important because I know for myself as, someone who is highly driven by learning new things and trying and testing new things, I can get deep into the weeds, and I can just get lost in something that I'm working on. Maybe a week goes by, a month goes by, and I start to feel really bad. Not just in the thing that I'm actually trying to create, because now I'm just so in it, I can't even get away from it, but also just every other area of my life starts to fall, as well. And because you're getting lost in one thing. And anytime we're lost in our business only and we're neglecting all other areas of our life, that's recipe for failure and disaster for sure. So I just really appreciate you bringing that up because it really is important. Doesn't matter what level you're at.
Yeah. At the end of the day, and this is something I tell everyone I work with, you're always the bottleneck. People are always like, oh, my business isn't growing because of X, Y, and Z. It's no, it's you. You're always the bottleneck at every point. And taking radical responsibility of that is going to be the best thing you ever do.
And that's what I'm glad you went there because that's what I wanted to kind of come back to. And that's where automate or delegate comes into play. What automate or delegate will do is it will expose you to your weaknesses and your demons and your devil. It'll expose you to your peril because you realize I don't know how to communicate what the fuck I really want. And I'm trying to tell someone to do it, but they're not doing it. I'm trying to automate it, but I don't even really know what I'm automating. So now you got to dissect the system that you're going through. And then you go, oh shit, it's broken right here. I didn't see it, that it was broken here. But now that I'm trying to, and that big, especially as coaches, a lot of us, or a lot of you are solo entrepreneurs. And us as solo entrepreneurs, you're used to doing things and solving every problem. And we all know that our business can only rise to the level that we improve and we level up, which is why coaches are so needed in the world, right?
Yeah.
And so, but then when we can get to a certain level because we know how to manage ourselves and we know how to do all these things, but then you can only get so far. And then when you need to, or so the earlier you can communicate by delegation or automation, the sooner you can uncover the perils that are in your way that you don't even see so you can stop bumping up against them. And if you don't know how to overcome it, then you can find a coach. Then you can find someone to help you navigate that particular pearl. But I really like that. Just bringing it back to that automation and delegation is the way to uncover it because that you find the gap and the break in the communication.
No, 100%. And it's all about, basically at every step in business, you're always fixing one system. You're always going to be fixing a system because as soon as you fix one, the next one will break down. And it's That's what it is. A lot of people think they're going to someday have this magical business. It doesn't work that way. And so, no, I mean, those like automation delegation, they're great things. I mean, actually, it's something I've started to fall in love with and talk a lot about because it gives you a lot of time out of your business and also shows you how you can do better in your business.
Let me ask you a question, man. Is there a time, and I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here, but is there a time when it may be too early to automate and delegate?
100%. I think so. So I always think there's a couple things that need to be true before you do either of those things. Number one, you have to have a system that works, because if you try to systematize or delegate something that isn't working, you're going to have something worse. And so first of all, it's like, let's say lead generation. So if you're doing lead generation, let's say organically, once it's working really well, you can delegate it to a VA, or you could automate it by utilizing some kind of software paid ads. You need to have it working and tested first. That's the first thing that needs to be true. The second thing that needs to be true before you automate or delegate is you need to have the cash flow to support it. Because obviously if you're delegating to a person, you're going to be paying them X amount. A software will cost X amount, or if it's paid ads, it'll be X amount. So you have to have cash flow that will support it with a reasonable certainty of an ROI within 2 to 3 months. So those two things need to be true. The third thing that I kind of throw in there is that you need to come from a power stance of not being desperate that the automation or delegation needs to work or we're going under. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. So if you have those couple of things true, then you can go ahead and do those things. We usually have like income metrics that we want our clients to be hitting. Usually like a business can get to about 6 figures, 8, 10K months. And usually they're going to kind of plateau around there unless they do delegate some stuff out. But then they usually have an extra $1,000 or $2,000 per month coming in that they don't need personally for taxes or for their own stuff in their business. So then great, we have stuff to utilize. The biggest thing with those things, automation, delegation, is you want to see an ROI of some type within 30 days. It could be an ROI of your time. You can just get time back and make the same amount of money. That's a great ROI. Cash is a great one as well. You spend X amount of cash, but it allows you to reach an extra level in your business that you make more cash at the end of the day. And so you always want to be thinking about the ROI for those things.
That's awesome.
All
man.
right, so I'm gonna take us into transition into something pretty cool here. If you are a heart-centered coach, right? Mm-hmm. Then so because I'm listening to you talk and I'm hearing things that as a heart-centered person and an artistic and an ethereal person am stumbling on, that's been in my way, that you are naturally using. I'm seeing why you are such a good fit for a heart-centered coach and entrepreneur, because everything that you're focused on is on the tests and the systems and the processes, mm-hmm. and analyzing the things that a lot of times when you're one of these heart-centered people that people just come to and you're a natural coach and listener and can mm-hmm. help people, you do not think about the numbers and the testing and the process and the order of doing things. And so you go through other people's systems, just shook my kid. You go through other people's systems and their programs and their products, and all the stuff like works, but you don't understand exactly why it works. You just feel, because you're a sensor like me, you just feel that like it works or it doesn't. And I'm doing these posts and I feel like these posts are working, where Reuben, you sound like I'm more like, yeah, it feels like it, but let's look at the data and let's see what's working. Yeah. It seems like you have that just naturally. And when you pair that with heart-centered, when you take someone who understands the other side, but doesn't think about the hypothesis and the scientific process of figuring out what actually works. When you can get somebody like that as an ally in your corner, now you've got the yin to your yang, you've got the mm-hmm. other half, and you can really accelerate. And I think for a lot of heart-centered people that think about impact before they think about income, there's just ways of looking at the world and looking at business that you just don't look at, that you can't 100%. Look at until you have somebody else who sees the world a little bit differently, but understands who you are.
Right. And where
because you're catering to heart-centered individuals, which is important, because you can have somebody who knows how to sell, knows how to test, knows how to do all these things, but it's going to feel aggressive and an affront to who you are as a heart-centered coach. But if you find someone who I cater to heart-centered coaches because I understand that they can change the world if they just understand how to run their business and these systems and these numbers better. So I just think that you offer a really unique opportunity for the way that you look at it, that you may not even know how different it is for some of these other people. And so if somebody's feeling that, like, man, yeah, there's definitely this other part that I don't get. And there's one other thing I wanted to bring up. You said if you can get them 3 or 4 clients, then they're hooked. Mm-hmm. You want to work with somebody who's like, listen, all I got to do is give you results and you want to give me money. That is who you want to work with every single time, because he knows, he's like, it's not like I just got to get tried. It's like, listen, hook up, like hang out with me. I'm gonna get you 3 people and you're going to be with me forever because they're going to pay for me. Mm-hmm. When you have somebody who's just thinking about that just kind of came out, right? That's how you look at it. When you've got somebody that understands that, that's when it really is an investment, not a risk. Not a just, so let me see if this is somebody that understands the process of how you grow your business, the systems and ways and tests you need to do so that you are ready to give to the world and be who you are. So if they're feeling like that, Reuben, how do they get in contact with you? How do they work with you? Like, what do we do there?
Yeah. So, I mean, first thing I want to say is actually I started as someone who sucked at data and analytics and tracking. Just so you know, I started as the heart center and had no idea about analytics. So not a natural, it is a skill that I learned. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping heart center coaches become business savvy. But the main thing I'd say, I mean, if people want to connect with us, we have a really great group on Facebook. It's called Aspiring Online Coaches. We have like 2,600 members in there. And I have over 4 dozen workshops, masterclasses, and trainings on literally every single aspect of building an online coaching business and scaling it. Like I said, that Facebook group will literally give you more value than the average business coach will if you pay them $5,000. And so if you want some crazy value and want to test out our stuff before you even chat with us, go to that group, Aspiring Online Coaches, watch a couple trainings, try it out, and send me a message letting me know how it went.
Awesome. That's so cool, man. And you know, you clearly are practicing what you preach as well. I mean, you've got a Facebook group full of value pieces, which sound incredibly valuable. So I will definitely link that down in the show notes below, guys, for everybody listening. Make sure you join that Facebook group, 100% free. And it sounds like it's got everything you guys need in there.
Mm-hmm. Guys, this was fun. This was fun.
Yeah.
So Corey, you got another question for him.
I got one last question for you, Reuben, but first I just, I really appreciate you, man. I want to thank you for your time and, just for coming on the show and being so open and transparent with, your skills and all of the knowledge that you have and sharing that with us. Definitely appreciate you, brother. So
the hour flew by. I wish we had more time. We might have to dig in deeper another time because
we'll get
100%.
But yeah, one last question for you, Reuben. So this is a little bit more introspective, and I kind of, take a moment to think about this. But if you were given the opportunity to sit with yourself, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, or even further in the journey, if you'd like, what is one pearl of wisdom that you would leave with yourself in that moment?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, I've been thinking a lot about who I was 5 years ago recently. I've been thinking a lot about how if I was given the business that I have right now 5 years ago, I would have imploded and I wouldn't have been able to handle it. I would literally would have been like self-sabotage to the max. But honestly, I'm going to go super cliche on this one. Because that person who I was 5 years ago was super impatient and just wanted the outcomes. And the cliche that I'm going to kind of give as far as like what I would say to him is like, when everyone says that you need to fall in love with the process of serving people, that's the most true thing you could ever hear. And so like being of service to people again and again and again, and just loving that part of the process will get you everything you want. It's the cliche. If you get 100 people what they want out of life, you'll get exactly what you want out of life. And I would have tried to like drill that into my head super hardcore.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, patience is one of those things. It's tough, when you're in it. But the truth is, you have to fall in love with that process, because like, why else are you doing it? If you're just doing it for the money, you'll never find fulfillment, right?
Money's super arbitrary. Every time I hit another milestone, we hit a really big milestone this last week in our business. Yeah, it was great, but it's like, okay, that's where I'm at. Like it doesn't actually feel differently. that's why you always have to, that's why you focus on the service. Because that's what truly allows you to feel something more.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you again, Reuben, for sharing everything and for being honest and open with us and the audience. And again, for everyone listening, all coaches, all entrepreneurs out there that are thinking about adding coaching to their business or becoming a coach, go join Reuben's Facebook group. Again, I'll have it linked down in the show notes below. What is it called one more time, Reuben?
Aspiring Online Coaches.
Aspiring Online Coaches on Facebook. Awesome. Well, thank you again, man. Definitely appreciate you. Nathan, anything on your side?
No, just thank you, Reuben, and hopefully get to talk again and see how you're doing, checking on some more milestones.
100%. My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Definitely, brother. We'll catch you on the next one.